So welcome, guys. I was gonna respond to a previous video from Economics Explained, but he uploaded this banger just a few days ago, and I decided to do this one instead because it's more economics oriented. And I'll address at the end of this video. I'll address most of his main points that I can address anyway. Uh, if I missed anything or if there is something I didn't address that you feel like you could just comment it and yeah, let's begin. I did think the volume's a bit low, unfortunately. Yeah. Like a typical neoliberal, he simplifies everything as embracing the free market. Notice how he uses really old footage. Island, the best economy. I'll skip the sponsorship crap. I love how he uses such old footage. No, it isn't. internal debt. All right, so that's pretty much everything he has to say. So I'll begin addressing the points that I can actually, I have actually addressed, doing a little bit of research. So, firstly, China's economy is either first or second, depending on what GDP metric you use. In GDP PPP terms, or purchasing power parity, it is the largest at 30 trillion USD, whilst in nominal GDP or exchange rate value terms, it is the second largest at 16 trillion. Saying China is the second largest is not the full story, so it's just a minor nitpick. But with economics explained, he simplifies a lot of things. Secondly, he states that China is regressing towards an increasingly authoritarian role, which by itself is a meaningless statement, and he doesn't elaborate on that point either. On the contrary, I would say China has been acting as it has always acted, just this time not in the favor of developing capital, but instead for social ends. This may, for a neoliberal like EE, be a bad thing, hence the authoritarian label. I should, I guess, remind you that in the West, specifically America, authoritarian is a bad thing. Whilst in the East, it's more nuanced. It's really it's a neutral term. It's pretty meaningless on its own. Third, EE states that this kind of rule has resulted in problems which he supposedly addresses in three other videos. However, he doesn't even give a summary of these issues, so I can't comment on them here. And I haven't watched these other videos either. Fourth, he goes on to state that China has increasingly hostile relations with its largest trading partners, which is only partially true. This is part of the reason why China has developed the Belt and Road Initiative, which EE completely ignores, conveniently. Fifth, EE states that the population itself are starting to feel the brunt of an overleveraged economy. However, his stated reasons for that are unusual business practices and the most overinflated real estate market in the world. However, he does not explain exactly how these weigh down on economic growth and does not elaborate on these 2 points either, even though we know that these two particular issues, the first one being very vague, don't have an influence on the Chinese economy. We also know that China is no longer pursuing a growth at all cost mentality. It is now pursuing a high quality growth, which means sustainability and quality of life improvements above all else. Therefore, it is not unusual for China to have lower than expected growth at intervals, but this is planned. EE would know this if he did some research on China's 5 year plans. It's quite clear he doesn't read those documents. They're pretty easy to find, actually. Sixth, EE goes on to state that more advanced economies have much more modest growth rates, but it does not elaborate on this point on his part. So I'll take that up. I'll be simplifying this a lot for the sake of this video, but the reason these so-called advanced economies have slower growth rates is because they rely too much on private capital to do the investing for them. Investment is crucial to kickstart and keep the economy chugging along. Private capital is too limited and too profit motivated to invest the amount any economy actually requires. Same with the case with FDI, or foreign direct investment. We see this typically in neoliberal economies, which the majority of these advanced economies are. However, their journey to advanced status was not attained through neoliberalism. This is too big a topic to cover here, so I might make a separate video on this. I'm not sure if I would, but I'll think about it. EE states that Chinese data sources are not super reliable, so I wonder what he thinks the independently verifiable sources he uses get their numbers from. Granted, he does admit that some of them get their numbers from China, except that all of them do. If not, they just make up numbers, and he goes on to state that it is particularly prevalent in China, but does not provide any evidence for that claim. However, if we take his claim at face value, then any negatives or positives on Chinese economic data are put into question. Basically, EE's own video is mere speculation and should be taken as such. EE states that the real estate market is somehow more ingrained in China than in other markets, which is simply false. And even if this was true, the government controls the heights of the economy, so real estate market crashes would have minimal impact on the Chinese economy. Assuming the government even lets it get this bad in the first place, which we know in China's case wouldn't happen. This renders the rest of his argument regarding that point kind of null and void. He also uses nominal data for per capita disposable income instead of purchasing power parity, which is what we use to measure living standards, as in HDI, otherwise known as the Human Development Index. EE states that building standards are absolutely terrible in China, apparently. He doesn't elaborate on why he thinks this is the case. Now I don't know much about this particular issue, but seeing the quality of construction in China compared to, say, the US or in my own country, India, this doesn't seem to be the case. So in the US, you have, because it's so extremely profit motivated, you have cases like what happened in Miami, cutting corners and stuff. So maybe it could be like EE's Australian apparently. So it's not projection, but it's definitely. Anyway, he states that Chinese people don't have anything other than real estate to invest in, which is just false. He also states that Chinese people don't invest in Chinese companies because they haven't historically been great investments, especially compared to the Chinese economy, which is also false. Again, he would know this if he interacted with Chinese people or actually listened to what investors of Chinese stocks have to say. He states that if you need to put your money to work in China, it needs to be in real estate. Maybe he should go and say this to all the investors of Chinese companies. The reason for the supposed ineffectiveness of Chinese policy in curbing real estate speculation could be because of local government corruption in lesser developed provinces in the country. That is assuming the claim by E is even true. So that's, of course, that's speculation on my part. I don't I'm not well versed in that issue. EE's stated reason for home ownership are, of course, silly. It should also be mentioned in his video that home ownership in China is around 90%, give or take a few, far higher than in the US, which I think was around 36% or something. So something like extremely low. Or it could be higher than that actually. But I had a few issues with my browser. Like it kept crashing when I tried to research that stuff, so I don't have that data with me. EE states that rural workers are forced into lockdown without any government assistance, which is just false again. Finally, EE completely ignores the real foundational economic strength of China as an investment credit creation economy, which is not at all rooted in its real estate market. Such worries should be reserved for finance dominated economies like the US, as China's real production economy. It doesn't face any of the issues that a typical neoliberal economy like the US does. Since it's a real production economy, it can deal with those issues. And also, like, a government controls the heights of the economy and everything. So it can deal with those issues pretty well. If you guys have noticed anything in E's video that I missed or that I didn't address, please do type it in the comments. If you think I'm wrong in some way, please also type in the comments. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.